Well, hey there, anyone who actually pays attention to the channel. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to monetize any of these videos thanks to YouTube's newest policies, but not much I can do about that. Hopefully, I'll actually start taking things apart and working on things again sometime soon, but until then, I've had a few small projects I've been working on. Nothing special, just little things and parts I've acquired in various places. All the things I find in the trash, people just chuck stuff because they don't think it's really worth it. It's always crazy. Found this the other day and it still even had the SD card in it. It's perfectly fine, but I guess they just didn't think it was worth it. Maybe it was too ugly or cheap, or sure I can find a use for it. It's waterproof and shockproof and dustproof and maybe even me-proof, so we'll see how that goes. Another fun little thing I made recently, I was asked to replace the address illuminator for a house. It had incandescent light bulbs in it, and of all things they were 24 volt AC, and looked at it and thought, that's odd. Couldn't figure out what would be using 24 volts AC for, and then followed the wiring and eventually found, well, there's two wires coming off this transformer. It is 24 volts AC, but what in the world for? And eventually figured it out, disconnected the wires. Well, the doorbell at this person's house doesn't work anymore, so solves that. So yeah, they were running light bulbs of 24 volts AC, so but the light bulbs kept burning out. They're hard to find anymore, and they didn't really produce that good of color, so I threw this little guy together. It's cut to fit and has input terminals here and just a couple 12 volt DC LED strips. I've just jumpered them right there. Come on, focus, 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 focus. Okay, it doesn't want to focus today. But that, got the ground wires on the back here, and I took some advice from Big Clive. Again, I don't know if you can really make this out, but you can, there we go, there we go. You can see it's kind of got a glossy coating on it. I actually coated this with clear nail varnish to kind of seal the LEDs and all the solder joints pretty well. And then it's got Kapton tape across the back to give a little bit more ability to be sealed. I'm not too worried about that here in Arizona, but still wanted to do it anyways. So we have that. And then finally, to solve the problem with the 24 volts AC, since that's not going to work for lines too well, found this little guy on Amazon. It's just AC in and then 12 volts DC out. Works pretty well. And so that's the story there on that. And some other fun things we might try to take apart or reverse engineer. Found this at a Goodwill. It looks like a Bluetooth headset, but it's unfortunately not. I found it's completely proprietary to Plantronics protocols, so may try to take it apart, see how complicated it is to reverse engineer, make it into something useful. If not, it's only a few dollars, not a huge problem there. And finally, something else I'd like to eventually talk about, but I think I may need a better engineer than me for this, is this little guy. Now, it doesn't particularly look like anything special. It's actually a blood glucose meter. A little hard to see there because of the exposure, but come on, there we go. But instead of using finger pricks, it actually uses an RFID sensor. I got timed out. We'll have to show that later, but that's certainly something I'd like to demonstrate in a video later, how it works, how it's applied, and I'd love to take one of the sensors apart. Unfortunately, this is my first week having the sensor, so I won't be taking it apart until I've gone through my first sensor. So, also realize this video is completely upside down, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. I guess it has to be in the mirror. But yeah, so we'll have a few things coming up, hopefully, for anybody who actually pays attention to this, and see what I have time for.